Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to Receiving Nur Quranic Wisdom Study. We are continuing to study from Imam Nursi's Tafsir. This will be, I think, our sixth session. Welcome. So we, as usual, Dr. Yamina will be leading the study. We have the text in front of us. It's from 11th word from words. It's also on the screen. And as we have been doing it, we'll be reading the text together, and Dr. Yamina will be unpacking it, and we are discussing together. So you're welcome to join in with your comments and questions. It's meant to be an interactive, reflective session. So without further delay, we turn to Dr. Yamina. Sarah usually reads the text today with us, but she isn't here today. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So last time we didn't have the time to go over the 10 first verses of Surah Al-Shams that are mentioned at the beginning of this 11th word. And these are reflections on those ayat, on those verses of the Quran. So it starts with, it's Surah Al-Shams, and it starts with Shams wa duhaha. Shams means the sun. Wa Shamsi wa duhaha, the sun. But in Arabic, you understand, it means it's an invitation to consider the sun and its radiant brightness. وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا, and the moon as it reflects this, as it follows and reflects the sun. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّاهَا, and consider the day as it reveals the world. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا, the world or the earth, both could be understood. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا, and the night as it veils it darkly. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا, and consider the heaven, the sky, and its wondrous building, make. وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا, and the earth, consider the earth and its expanse. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, so each time it's consider the human self, the self. وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and how it is formed. Sawaha is like forming in accordance what it is meant to be. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and how it has been inspired with moral feelings, or imbued with moral feelings, as well as with God consciousness. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, he who purifies it, he who causes it to grow. It means the self here, causes his self to grow in purity, shall attain a happy state. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا, and the one who buries it instead of growing it in through purification, the one who buries it in darkness has truly lost. So you see how it starts, and the 11th word starts with the world and how it is created harmoniously, the order, the purpose, the meaningfulness. And then it comes to human being and having those two potential attitudes, because that's how we've been created. It says here, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. The self has been imbued, has been inspired with immorality. Here, the immoral is not, it's an immorality in the sense that you go against the purpose of the creation, not only the purpose of the self's creation, but the purpose of everything else's creation. There is purpose, there is meaning that is flagrant, obvious, evident everywhere, yet we don't pay attention to it, or we have curiosity as to the source of the meaning, but we don't care. Or there is transience, and we are created with a dislike and a fear of transience, yet we try to live our life as though there was no transience, ignoring that glaring reality of this worldly life. So that's the immoral, the moral failing. وَتَقْوَاهَا and taqwa, being conscious of God. And both potentials are within us, and we choose to activate whichever we want to grow. As it says in the next ayah, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, whoever grows and cultivates it, the self, through purification, will attain prosperity and a happy state. And the one who buries it under the darkness, dassa is really hiding it and burying it, will lose. So inshallah, I hope we can see now the parallel. Why are we told to consider this, consider that? And especially how there is the sun and its radiant brightness, and then there is the moon that follows and takes its light reflects the light of, we're not going into those details, but there are lots of things going on here, layers of realities in the world that can be understood as physical realities as well as spiritual realities. And how the day reveals everything, while the night veils everything. And how the sky, can you see how the sky is being built? How does it stand there? And how the earth is expanded, and how the self is created in a way that fits this world. Subhanallah, lots of things to do. So these are what we have been reading, are reflections on this, the beginning of this surah, of this ayah, these passages, inshallah. And so last week we started with, before the metaphor about the servants who get the 20 gold pieces and the other one gets 1,000 gold pieces, we were reminded again, the author, Imam Nursi, rahimahullah, he says, your life purpose is not restricted to having a good life, transient life in this transient passing world, as the dominant culture tries to impose upon us. And he says, how come? And again, it's the same, you can see the same reasoning as the ayah. Look at your faculties, look at your limbs, even your physical being is so sophisticated. I mean, look at our tongue. It cannot be just to feed and our body and keep alive. It can't be for that, because it's so complex, and so it must be some loftier meanings and purposes in all this, especially that all this is paralleled with that strong feeling within us of dislike, of longing, dislike for transience and longing for permanence. And so he says clearly all this, but he explained it before. There are all these faculties and all these feelings and all these potentials that have been included in yourself, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, the way you have been made and created, is for two main aims. And the two ones are actually two steps. The first one, he says, making known to you all the varieties of the true bestower's bounties. So through the way we are created, we can interact with the world and we can appreciate it. We can appreciate it as blessings, and we are made to be grateful. Now, as human being, consciously, we need to take that gratitude from an animal gratitude, horizontal gratitude, to the blessings themselves, and find out the source of the blessings. And so automatically our gratitude will be redirected to the true source, to the true bestower. And so we will be caused to thank him, be grateful to him, and therefore worship him, seek help from him alone. Remember, this 11th word was also coupled with Surah Al-Fatiha.
Dr. Yamina, I just want to add to what you have just said. This gratitude using different senses that we have been given, and through them tasting divine blessings and being grateful. It's radically different from, as you have said, the kind of more basic level of I'm grateful. Because these days there are a lot of people talking about gratitude, which is better than not talking about gratitude. Lots of people are talking about complaining and whining. So talking about gratitude is much better than that. But they oftentimes, in the interest of their audience, they oftentimes don't talk about what is our gratitude going to. Let's just be grateful. It's more healthy. It's more relaxing. And so this isn't that gratitude. This is gratitude. Whether you are tasting it with your tongue, or you're tasting it with your ear, or you're tasting with your heart in relationships, how all these varieties of blessings that we are tasting, we are to be grateful to the source, where this is coming from. As you've been mentioning in the recent sessions, it's coming from somewhere, a source of bounty, a source of blessing, a power and wisdom and compassion. I wanted to know that in the recent exposure to the Quran this week, I noticed there's so many references to gratitude to God, and it struck me because I didn't, I knew it was the main theme in the Quran, but this many times, and I don't have the verse with me now, but it was saying it was being identified as kufr and shirk were identified. There was a reference to after they get the blessing, they forget and they are ungrateful, and that was connected to shirk, that was connected to kufr, and more than once. And I didn't read the whole Quran, I just read some parts. So this isn't I know maybe you're smiling, you're like, are you getting this now? But it struck me more this week that wow, this is such a major thing in the Quran, being grateful to God, as opposed to being, dismissive and ungrateful or ungrateful. Just wanted to highlight that. You are muted.
The verb shakara, which means to give thanks, is used sometimes in opposition to kafara. Like Sulaiman alayhi salam, when he says, you gave me this so that I may thank or لأشكر أم أكفر. So kafara is used many times in the meaning of being ungrateful. قال هذا من فضل ربي ليبلوني أأشكر أم أكفر. I think it was in Surah An-Naml, if you remember. So yeah, so here it's, sorry, let me get the text again. So the first one is to give thanks to the bestower, to the true giver, to the source, the one who gives us all these blessings. Now the second is a step further, because he says the second is to make known to you by means of your faculties all the source of the manifestations of the sacred names. Now, in the beginning, it seems like it's me here and it's a blessing there in front of me, right? But after reflecting and contemplating on the nature of our relationship, we can see that something much more profound is going on there. And that we become aware of that to the extent that we become more aware of what it means to be abd, who we are. The more I am in, because in the first step, the more I'm grateful, the more in that gratitude, in that metaphorically, let's say, and physically, during, at least during the salat, the daily prayers, when we are in that state of prostration, of sajda, we realize that we start counting, and we are taught in the Quran, you cannot count God's blessings. And the blessings in the beginning seems to be out there, the food, the house, this, that, whatever I feel I appreciate and is fulfilling a need. And then you come inward and seeing and speaking and understanding and this and this and this. And the more you come in, even being conscious of all this is also a blessing, until you realize that what is not a blessing? What do I have from me? Nothing. Everything is a blessing. Everything is given. And when we start handing over, we talked about it before, he mentioned it before, the amana, the trust back to God, even the sense of I that we cling so much on, because I is almost like sacred instead of the divine I. It's all about me. No one can say anything to me. If you just imply something, I may get like black, like, what do you mean? So all those sensitivities come from that false claim of I, and all our faculties are used to protect that I instead of focusing on the divine, on God, on the source. And so when I realized that I, part of it, the story about it is my own delusion, my own unquestioned false claims and false beliefs. And when I let go, it starts growing through purification. When I purify it from those false stories, I found out that the sense of I, the sense of being conscious, understanding, everything is a blessing. So I am in total, the more I am in prostration, the more I start seeing through the things, the blessings out there. In the beginning, when I exist on its own separately somehow, and God is helping me, then things out there are blessings from God, but they're still blessings on their own, as if independently they have some kind of existence of being. As the claims inside start dissolving, then the veils outside start also unveiling. Day, it's day. The night of the false claims is over. Then I start seeing things as they are, and they are mirrors. They mirror the face of God. They mirror the beautiful names of God. And so I say, then by means of your faculties, all the source, they are the key, all the source of the manifestation of the sacred divine names manifested in the world. Now we don't see objects, we don't see events, we see manifestations, creativity, divine creativity, manifestations of the divine names, or as Imam Nursi also says, a step further is everything is speaking. Everything is a messenger from God. Everything is speaking about him and making him known to us through his beautiful names of God. And so they cause us to, and they cause you to experience them. Now, so if I'm eating, it's not just in the beginning, it seems like it's a blessing. I like it. I am eating it. Very good. The goodness is in the food itself. Alhamdulillah, thank you, God, you gave me this. And we all start there, it's okay. However, if we want to know God with his beautiful names, then the more we wonder about what's going on, what does it mean that the thing I'm talking about, the moment I put it in my mouth is not a thing anymore. So we are not philosophizing about, is it a thing, is it not? No, because we are now at another level of consciousness and another level of self-perception, and therefore that is going to have an effect on how we perceive things. Now it is, the blessing is a living thing. It is a messenger of God. It is speaking to me through its form, through its melting, through its speaking to me not only before I eat it, through we like the color, the smell, and the form and everything, and now through something called taste and smell, and we are just at awe at what's going on, and we realize that we are experiencing something that transcends the physical world. The physical is like the ink and the shapes. When you have inks and shapes on a piece of paper, they are there to serve a meaning. So we don't say this is paper, this is ink. We start reading. What does it mean? Here, we also start reading. And we start reading through all our faculties, and we read the ayat. That's when we start interacting with the world as ayat. And those ayat, they speak, they are messengers, and they speak of God. We start experiencing the sacred divine names manifested in the world. That's what he's saying. And you, it means us, by recognizing them, by recognizing the sacred divine names, through experiencing them, recognizing them not through a list or through I understood intellectually. It could be in the beginning, yeah, to give me a map. That's a map. That's still not territory. It doesn't mean I've been there. Here it's through experiencing them. You should come to believe in them. That's when truly I believe in them. Because otherwise it's not belief, it's hearsay. And thus human being develops and is perfected through the achievement of these two basic aims. And these basic aims are they come one after the other. Through them, human being becomes a true human being, meaning he fulfills the purpose of the creation. And then there was the parable of which we discussed, I think, last week.
Yeah, we actually came I kept going and started
And then, yes. And
9
then,
letters.
yes.
Maybe we left off on the 4th one.
And these, the first, the second, the third, remember, he says in the beginning, oh, my heedless soul, if you want to understand to a degree both the aim of your life, and that was the aim, those two, and the nature of your life, and the form of your life, and the true meaning of your life, and its perfect happiness. Isn't everyone claiming that they are doing whatever they are doing to search for happiness and fulfillment? That's exactly what the Quran says as well. But there is no happiness outside this path. I mean, the path is wide, but it's one path in the sense that it's one direction, let's say. It could be different paths, but they are all leading to the one and to fulfilling the purpose of life. Because everything else outside that is transient and passing and cannot give true fulfillment. And he said the true meaning of your life and its perfect happiness, then look, the summary of the aims of your life consists of 9 matters. And we did go through them. So the first one, we said to weigh on the scales of the senses, put in your being the bounties stored up in the treasuries of divine mercy, and to offer universal thanks. So it's the 2 first aim are being, opened up now. They're being unpacked in detail. The second, to open with the keys of the faculties placed in your nature, the hidden treasures of the sacred divine names. The third, to consciously display and make known through your life in the view of the creatures in this exhibition of the world, the wondrous arts and subtle manifestations which the divine names have attached to you. You see, the first is blessings, general. That's where we all start. That's where most people spend their life. The second, it's already starting with the divine names. That is something. Like, if this is created so beautifully, the one who created it is beautiful, basic. But the more we get deeper and deeper, it's something that involves not only the heart, but also the soul. And when we live from the heart and the soul, then we automatically, we are aligned, we vibrate at the level of the melekut, the angelic aspect of things, because it's the angels that bring the divine command of be and it is, and it becomes what it is in the world, not only what it is in the world, including our selves. So for a human being, that's the ruh, the soul. For everything else, it's the angelic part. And they communicate with each other. It's like the physical part feeds the body, the beauty, the sense, the meaning feeds the heart, and there is something beyond that speaks to the soul.
Dr. Yamina, also it's interesting in the third, it looks like as if we start with, as you said, with tasting the blessings and gratitude, and then we start using faculties. Last time we said anything could be a faculty, right? Our sense of compassion, our sense of justice, our imagination, our reasoning, and all other things that we have been given. They could be keys to appreciate and to recognize the divine names. And then the third one, as it were, it dawns on us that, wait a second, I'm part of this display as well. It isn't only about unlocking through myself the manifestations of God's, Allah's power and compassion and so on, I am part of this exhibit that I am also to manifest.
In the third, we're not yet there.
But I'm just saying, like, because it says to consciously display and make known through your life in the view of other creatures. So I myself start seeing myself as a place where, you know, other conscious beings or other creatures will look at and manifesting divine qualities that have been attached to me. I mean, not the qualities themselves, but the manifestations point us to them, signs of those qualities. We don't have the qualities in us, of course, but
no, we have only the
so
that makes us realize that there is such a thing.
So it's like, one, you're thankful. The second step, like you're made to, like you realize it is from a loving, beautiful, vast Lord. And then the third is that you realize that you loving it, that you channeling it is part of the display, like you become part of the display. Is that what you're saying? Like, one, it's out there, but then, so then the eye, then you realize the eye is part of the display, like, you know, that you are there as part of the display. You're not there on your own accord. You're there as part of the whole mu'jiza, like the whole i'jaz.
It means we become aware, we become conscious that we are using the key. Because the first time in the second step, when we open with the keys of the faculties, I see something and I understand it, but I'm not aware of what's going on. It's done. That's how we create it. It's done automatically. But in the third, we start becoming aware of what's going on. We think, for instance, I'm grateful. I love these things. Alhamdulillah, praise and thanks to God, He created all these things. But then there is another step of how is it, like, what's the relationship between me and these things? How come I love them and appreciate them? In the beginning, it seems like I love them, I appreciate them. Thank you, God. I am the thanker. I'm still claiming an active part in what's going on. There is an I is still saying I'm doing things. I am the source of the appreciation, as if. And then you realize that you become conscious. How come? How come it's like, for instance, hopefully we appreciate justice. I can't say I am not going to be bothered with this injustice that I see in the world. I am going to make myself like it, or at least not to be disturbed with it, because I don't like being disturbed with injustices. I can't do that. It's not up to me. So I realized that, so who likes justice when I like justice, and of course we can do that for everything. Who sees when I see, who speaks when I speak, who understands when I understand. I am made, and I realize, just like I'm made to breathe, I am made to see, I am made to understand, I am made to appreciate.
Dr. Yamina,
so the shakur and the shakir is him only. It's just like we say, when I help someone in need, I am made to help, because where did that compassion come from? Then I say, La mu'ina illallah, there is no helper except God. There is no God except God. There is no helper except God. There is no God except God. The tawheed, the shahada, it becomes truly shahada when we start giving the rububiyyah to God. And the rububiyyah, we can only give it to God when we realize start giving the beautiful names to God only. Without the beautiful names, when we don't consciously give them to God, it means we are unconsciously giving them to other things, to ourselves and other things. That's why it's important. Not because, this is the mystic path, only those who really want, it's like a luxury. It's not a luxury. It is like the path of Tawheed. It's repeated in the Quran. La ilaha illahu lahu al-asma al-husna. There is no God but He. Why? Because the beautiful names belong to Him alone, to nothing else. So here, when we say La mu'ina illallah, there is no helper except God, I can say there is no appreciating except God. There is no loving except God. And I realize that even my appreciating is a gift from Him.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina, for that emphasis. I wanted to see if I can offer an example to illustrate these, or we think together. So let's say the sense of justice. So in the first step, with the scales of my senses, I appreciate justice. I actually, this is the real one. We recently had an issue with our renter, and she came up with something really unfair. And I won't go into details, but it wasn't just that we will be losing money, but it's also like it just was not fair that she was in the house and she didn't want to pay the rent. So but things resolved beautifully, alhamdulillah, and she started paying rent again. So then in the first step, I enjoy like this justice kind of is from my little personal and maybe selfish perspective, but that justice have been served. Like, because what bothered me is not that she couldn't pay, but also not she couldn't pay, she was able to pay. If she said, I lost my job, well, I would be fine. She has the money. She said, I have the money, I'm not going to pay. That really I felt like that's not fair. That's unfairness. It's beyond not just losing money. So then this problem was resolved. So this was one venue through which I got to taste a glimpse of divine justice. And so in the first step, I'm grateful to that, and I am appreciative of that. In the second one, I should use my sense of justice, right? I want justice, not just for myself. In this case, it's complicated because it's about my benefit. But even if it wasn't about myself, there is a side in us that is disappointed with injustice and wants justice, even if it has nothing to do with us directly. So I look at that sense of, wanting justice, being unsettled by injustice, that faculty as a key to recognize the hidden treasure of Asma al-Husna, which is to see that, wow, the sense of justice is flowing to me. It must be flowing from the source of justice, al-adl, right? So I am using this to unlock the treasure of why is it treasure? We said that before, because treasure has the sense of eternal. The Quran talks about the treasures of God, meaning once I find that this is coming from somewhere, it's unending, eternal. I can be unjust, people may be unjust, justice can.
And also it needs to be found, to be unlocked. It's not just, a treasure is not going just there, sitting.
We need
it's valuable, and it's maqalidu. The keys are with God.
So to be discovered. Yeah, very nice. So then, and the third, to consciously display and make known through your life. So is the third would be, I'm trying to imagine. I'm not sure.
After 3, 4, 5, we understand how it becomes more and more. For instance, when I realize I appreciate justice, I may not feel like I may act with justice or not. It depends on, but the integrity and the consciously acting with justice increases, because now you want to
Display.
Become a conscious channel of those names.
Right. So very nice. So the example for the third dam would be if when we say I want to act justly, not just because I feel bad otherwise or something. Everybody has, but it's to having gone through 1 and 2. I want to act justly in the name of the just, not in my name, but to consciously display al-adl in my life, in my dealings with in my family or with my neighbor and so on. So then, and I've realized that instead of saying, "Oh, I'm a just person," or I have high integrity, instead of saying that this is mine, I will manifest it as something that's flowing through me, a manifestation that has been attached to me, but it's not mine. I am not a little adl, source of justice. I am consciously displaying manifestation of al-adl. So this is helpful.
It's, I think it becomes, when we realize it is a manifestation of God's name, we are more likely to, we'll go through the steps, but like, I feel like we're more likely to want to emulate that, to be a mirror reflecting that. But if I see it as the other person is just, I just say, okay, the other person is just, and finished. But if the other person is reflecting, is a mirror to divine justice, then this is beautiful. It means we can be channeling divine justice. I also will work on that and be like, I know through generosity, for instance. And sometimes it's not like we have a decision that I'm not going to be generous, because that's not how consciously ihsan works. That's how ghafla works. We are not even aware of what we are doing. But the more conscious we become, the more we say, oh, I didn't realize that you could be, for instance, generous in this way as well. So you see a friend being kind or generous to you in a certain way, you say, oh, this is beautiful because I appreciate it. I am made to appreciate it. I am learning something new. I will also, it means in that sense, I was not an open channel to that kind of beautiful hospitality or generosity or something. And so when I see it, it becomes like the mirrors reflecting that mirror, like the moon and the sun. That person becomes like a sun in that activity, and it reflects on the other one because there is the intention. And so we reflect, we become each other's mirrors as we are, well, in different senses, but in this sense as well, as we are told in the hadith. If we carry on, we will see, inshallah, after the third.
Yeah, can I? So when you're saying that, like the step 2, what comes to me with justice was like when you see someone out, like whether you see someone out there just, you want to be just, it's like it's good for him, like the American express, oh, good for you. But in the third stage, it's like it tastes like, it tastes good. You want to do it because it's not just good for you. It's like, oh, you did good for you. But it's something that, wow, like I'm seeing you enjoying tasting it and I want to taste it. And what came to my mind is there was a TV series called Yunus Emre. And there was like this judge who has learned like all the Sharia and was like the top of his class. And he was like he learned all of the rules, but he met this
true case, by the way.
Yes, And then he met, and he was facing a true case, but then he met this this sheikh who like, you know, understood the ruh of justice. Like, what is it? Like, you know, it's not just to apply the rule, like what is the rule about, and not to see like he had this burden I need, and he was running and trying to get, to prove something, while the other one was almost waiting to be for the, for what's haqq to be revealed. So there was two different ways. One who's doing it, it's me, I'm doing it, I need to do more, I'm gonna do more. And the other one was like almost like receiving, like, waiting to it to be received, like being open to receive. And he keep asking him questions. What is justice? Is justice what your eyes see? What is justice? Like, he was trying to help him in that way. So when you said justice, Isra, like, in that second stage, this judge, like, good for him, he's the strong one, he's the A on his class. But in the third stage, like, when he arrived to that, then you approach justice to taste the just. It's not to do good or to be good for you, but like, to be part of it. Wallahu alam. But it just came to my heart. Jazakallah khair.
So the third is to consciously display and make known through your life, in the view of the creature in this exhibition of the world, the wondrous arts and subtle manifestations which the divine names have attached to you. So it means you're conscious that it's not me, but it's the names that have been, the manifestation of the names, the reflection of the names attached to me. And the fourth, to proclaim your worship to the court of the Creator's Rububiyyah, verbally and through the tongue of your disposition. So not only verbally, but through your hand, through your way of being, and through your everything, through your action, your being, your thoughts, your feeling, your actions. So we cannot truly proclaim, or our worship will be very minimal if we skip 3. Because 3 is, when I help the poor, subhanallah, he's the helper. When I understand something, alhamdulillah, you are the one who makes me understand. And therefore I don't go and see like the other one didn't understand. Oh, still you couldn't understand? So I am patient, I'm compassionate with everyone else, and I'm almost like someone who got lots of wealth when everyone else is poor. What do? You don't say, why aren't you working, as in Surah Yasin? You say, maybe I've been given all this to share with the others, right? So the whole attitude changes. It's an attitude of humility. Remember, that's how it started anyways. Without the humility, we don't take the right path. It's not like because of this we become arrogant. No, because of our arrogance, we're blinded to all these realities. So we have to always be, whenever sensitive to arrogance, whenever we sense some arrogance within us, we have to make istighfar and let go of those, because that arrogance is based on falsity. Ghurur in Arabic, translated as arrogance, is also, it means self-deception. It's based on self-deception. Because if it is who I truly am the source of knowledge and knowing and understanding. If I pretend it's not me, that would be lying and hypocrisy. But the truth is, none of us is the source of any knowledge or understanding. It's all لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. We have no knowing and no understanding except what you teach us, as we are told in the ayah. Therefore, to pretend I am the source is hypocrisy and arrogance. And so when we clear, as we are told in Surah Al-Shams, we purify from all these false claims, it starts growing as what it was supposed to be. Then we can truly worship God. Because I worship God, I say, Alhamdulillah, you are the helper. When I'm helping, I know God is the helper. If he's the helper, it means he's the helper of everyone in this world and in the next for eternity. So all my fears and anxiety about all the poor people that I don't have a means to help. And even if I have the means, I don't know even where they are. And after I die, what will happen to them? So clearly it can't be about me. This knowing brings peace to the heart. There is meaning, there is purpose in what's going on. And when I am the one who is in need of help, I know that he's the helper in this world and in the next. So that fear and anxiety of being destitute, of being without help is dissipated. I can let go of that. There's no burden. And if I'm still feel that I need help and it's not here, I understand that there is a purpose. It's there for me to understand something because I know for sure he's the helper. How do I know? When I helped, I witnessed, I experienced the helper within me. So there is manifold knowing God. Knowing God is not because God needs it. Knowing God is because I need it. And the more we know God as our Rabb with his beautiful names, the more we are at peace and we can let go of all our fears and anxieties. And we start acting in his name. That's what worship is. I cannot worship anyway God when I don't know him. So we get to know him, we get to thank him and not other things. Be grateful to him for the blessings. And that's how we get to worship him with words, physically, through our heart, through our health, through our state of being, and through everything. The fifth, like on ceremonial
Yamina, I think we have Sarah back on.
Sure.
If we, Sarah, do you think you can?
Since we read them all last week, so we can do one by one, like the fifth, discuss it and go, because it could be our last, it's ending, I think. The 11th word is ending.
Okay, Sarah, do you think you can?
I'm alone with the baby, so there might be lots of noise, but if you want me to read, I can.
Just one paragraph at a time.
Yeah,
okay, the fifth.
Paragraph at a time. Inshallah.
Okay.
The fifth.
So quick question. Did we already discuss the fourth?
Someone can summarize for you.
Do you have a question?
No, I can just keep reading, but I was just wondering, since I definitely missed that part. Okay. The fifth. Like on ceremonial occasions, a soldier wears all the decorations he has received from his king. And through appearing before him, displays the marks of his favor towards him. This is to consciously adorn yourself in the jewels of the subtle senses which the manifestations of the divine names have given you, and to appear in the observant view of the pre-eternal witness. The sixth, to consciously observe the salutation.
We're going to talk about fifth first, and then.
Okay, inshallah.
Thank you.
If someone can give like a quick sentence on the fourth, I would really appreciate since I missed that.
And what I had understood was that it is flowing from the first three, as we see beautiful names displayed through us, around us and through us, then we come to worship, to, it says proclaim, to proclaim worship with our tongue and with our state of being. And Dr. Yamina, if I understood correctly, she was highlighting that state of being in worship and recognizing rububiyyah is essentially a state where you clear yourself away from all forms of arrogance. And the moment you feel into that in yourself, you undo it and make istighfar, because arrogance is to think that you are source of some beauty, some perfection, some power, and we have that temptation, but it is actually not true. So that is, with our tongue of disposition, our hal, literally it means our way of being, and also with our verbally, with our tongue, we proclaim.
Thank you.
Ubudiyya.
Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you.
I think in the fifth, the most important is that to consciously adorn yourself in the jewels of the subtle senses which the manifestations of the divine names has given you, and to appear like that before God. So that's the most important thing here. It means, remember in the second, it was just attached to you. No, in the third one, the subtle manifestations which the divine names have attached to you. But in the fifth, it's more, we know now, the person is more aware, more conscious of how or where, what does it mean that the manifestations, the reflections of the beautiful names have been attached to us. All the subtle senses that we've been given, it says the jewels of the subtle senses. It means they are very valuable. They're valuable because they have a connection, they are connected to the beautiful names of God. And so if I have a sense of knowing, it is related. I have a need for the name Alim, the all-knowing, and we start seeing the connection between the senses that have been given to us and the relationship with the divine names, because that's how, remember we talked last week about the keys being the need within us, because we see it as I have a sense of knowing and understanding, a sense of being conscious, a sense of seeing, a sense of, we have subtle senses like feeling things and intuitively understanding things, but the more we become aware of who we are as Abd, as being the recipient of these endless blessings, the more we realize that truly, truly, my knowing is not, it's not like I have a mini source, a small source of knowing with me. I actually have only the need to know. I have curiosity. I have curiosity. And I learn something, and even what I learn, I cannot guarantee that it will stay with me. So clearly I am a channel to knowledge, to knowing, to understanding, but I am not a source. That's clear. The more we reflect, the more we understand it. And the more we reflect, the more we understand this reality, the more we understand that it is being given to me. So the sense that I have is, like Imam Nursi says, like a key or like a thermometer, or like you get to understand and recognize the beautiful names of God, but it's not of the same nature, but you get to really know them and appreciate them and understand them. And to know that nature is not the purpose and the aim. to know that the source of all these things is with him, with our Rabb, our sustainer, is what matters to our life. And so the fifth becomes much more subtle. We're more aware, more deeply in connection with this, the manifestation of the sacred divine names and how they're being processed through us, so how they are, the reflection of them is coming through us, and we're becoming more appreciative of our connection to the beautiful names of God and therefore who our Rabb is. But it's definitely connected with who we truly are and what our senses are really.
Yamina, I'm just going to recap something for Sarah that you said before, which is that when you are receiving, like when you're receiving the need to know, when you're finding yourself like, you know, working, let's say preparing for something and doing it, then you're appreciating that you are receiving it, and you are appreciating that whoever is sending it to you will always send it. But what you said last time, and I wanted to highlight now, is that when it's not coming to you, and this is something interesting, when it's not coming to you, then you also appreciate that there is a wisdom in it not coming to you. Like, so when it's coming to you, you're tasting it and enjoying it. But what for me, like, you know, stood out of what you shared when Sarah was away was like, when it's not coming to you, that you stop and say, you know, I believe there's the source that's always making it come to me. So now it's not coming to me. There is a lesson for me here. And that is something that like it might be easier to be grateful when things are coming, but I think for me it's very important to realize when it's not coming that there is a lesson. So anyway, so that also becomes part of that appreciation. It's not like I'm, you know, it's not about me, I'm pushing harder. No, it's like the reception, there's something in my reception, there's a lesson, there's something that I need to learn here. And that puts it in a totally different dynamic.
I may not receive that particular information, but I may receive some other wisdom.
And one of the things
in the reality, because it's me who decided that I need this information right now, or I need to understand this right now. But when I realize that I'm not the source, if I were the source, why would I even bother? I would just say be and it is. Then I will, other blessings will be given, but not necessarily what I'm expecting, right, Alia? That's what you meant, I think.
I think Nartila wanted to say something.
Sure.
Yes.
About the use of the metaphor, the soldier and the decorations. So it seems like there is a struggle going on to be able to earn those things to display. So it doesn't seem like it's an, easy thing, right? So I'm just gonna beautify myself, put those things on. You need to earn them, right? For them to become part of you, right? So that's what I'm getting here as well.
I mean, not necessarily a struggle in the sense that it's very hard, but definitely, yes, you have a point there. You have to earn them. Let's say earn them, because actually we don't earn,
right.
But you have to intend, you have to ask for it. You can't be just sitting there doing nothing and suddenly it comes. Even if it comes, if I'm not open to receiving it, it does not help me, if you see what I mean. So yes, yeah, thank you. Definitely there is an intentionality there. This person made the effort, intended to live according to the purpose of their life. or at least, let's say, if you remember the beginning, there were there in this surah as well, there are these two paths, and at least this person, and we can easily go into the path of ghafla and mindlessness and take everything for granted. But this person made the effort, the intention, choose to not follow that path and to follow the path of living consciously and purifying the self of its false claim. Yeah. And therefore letting it grow. We don't grow it ourselves, but we can bury it under the darkness. So when we are careful not to bury it, when we find ourselves again indulging in false claims and delusions, we immediately make istighfar and let go of those false claims. Let's go of that false arrogance, or that arrogance. That's what arrogance is, anyway. Yeah, thank you. That's a good point. True. Shall we go to the 6th, if there is no?
I wanted to say something, but I don't know. I have a lot of background noise right now. The third one, in the third one, it had said that we display consciously to other beings. And the fifth, it's saying now it has become something more
to God,
deeply connected, and we displayed consciously before
God.
God, yeah. And that reminded me of the very beginning of this 11th word, when it said the world, the creation has been created to display divine beauty. God wanted to display beauty and to be for it to be seen by these other creatures, and also to see it through them. It's a pretty kind of deep point, but I don't know, this fifth point seems a bit, all of them are dense, but even more denser. What does it mean to walk before your creator with the awareness that these are the things that what I'm being adorned with is manifestations of his beauty, and I am displaying it before him. I mean, he's always present, but to be aware of that is pretty.
The fifth is living with ihsan. In the fourth is more like iman, because iman is like revising my relationship with the world. It's not horizontal anymore. You are not, our relationship is not horizontal. You are all from God. And only then I can then live in the presence of God.
If I can just add a comment that came to my mind with the fifth, with Isra's comment and with what Dr. Yamina just said. Also, Aliyah, thank you so much for that comment. Mashallah, I needed it really intensely, alhamdulillah. When it said adorning yourself with jewels, I imagined like the image, since Aliyah loves imagery, like when you put on a necklace in the mirror and you watch yourself do it. There's like a conscious choice, and what came to my mind was from our Ramadan feast, the hues of God, to color our perception of life with the hues of God, like we would put on jewelry, and that's all.
Thank you for that. Thank you. And to add one thing from, again, receiving the Ramadan feast, it was mentioned that, I can't exactly recall the phrase. If anyone recalls, it was a beautiful phrase. It was about thanking the things for failing you or for being transient, because you revealed to me that you weren't the source. So when the things that we receive, we don't receive that creativity or wisdom or whatever, that's actually, thank you for not coming this time, because then it became a sign that I wasn't the source.
So beautiful. That's a great reminder also, because I think that, I mean, this is, again, this, from my hal today, any sort of slip where there's a loss or disconnection or owning and kind of like losing this cycle of consciousness, there's an immediate owning of the despair also. So there's like an owning of the feeling, and then there's a disconnection there, and then there's an owning of not being able to remain conscious, and then there's just this cycle of being just pulling down, and not being able to come back. And I love what you and Aliyat just mentioned, to come back to that place of worship and gratitude in the here and now, for the reminder that comes again through the new feeling, to come back, right back, circling right back to the divine name that attaches to us. Very nice.
I love the cues, like you mentioned it when you're doing the Ramadan feast. They use the colors, because I like for me, the concept of لتعارفوا, which is a group that we have. I'm not advocating for it, by the way, but the concept is that we get to taste from each other, the colors that we display of God, so the hues of God, the hues of God's name. So when we are looking at each other, we're not looking at each other like in terms of this person has this degree or has this, but you're saying, oh, mashallah, this person reflects this quality of God beautifully. This person reflects this quality of God beautifully. This person. So then when we're looking at each other, the abundance that we have, that we're created with, جعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. Like the taqwa, it's that awareness that what we are displaying are those colors, those hues, reflections of names of God. And when you look at it that way, then min ayatihi ikhtilaf alsinatikum, then it all becomes so beautiful, because we're not just looking at at the ethnic, at the the academic, I'm looking at people, regardless on where they're from and what's their background, as reflections of the names of God. And then that takes a whole, that adornments that Nartila you're speaking about, those adornments, people, so people might have some opening in my mind, some, they have a gift of appreciating beauty, but then they might take that appreciation and become the expert of the expert, the paid expert. It's okay to be paid, but there's nothing to do with God, the expert on the value of things. But then there are people who take that, and that's the work that I think is that take that and keep tasting God's name in the beauty, or tasting God's name in justice, and the more they do that, the more those hues shine, and the more people who are looking looking to taste those names of God see them, and people see them in each other, and that's where people see each other with these characters and feel connected to them, because they taste something in them that they're not attributing to themselves. Actually, people don't like when people boast about themselves, so that doesn't attract us. But what attracts us is when people reflect those colors, those adornments. They were gifted with it, yes, but then they, their life journey to receive it more makes it shine more and makes it more clear. Wallahu a'lam.
Maybe that ties with the sixth, to consciously observe the salutations. Salutations, is it tahiyyat? Isra? Sounds like tahiyyat.
Let me check.
In the tashahhud at the end of the prayers. Oh, well, at the end of the prayers. When we are in between the two rakas, and at the end as well, we make the tashahhud. So we say the tahiyyat. So
yes,
probably
tahiyyat in original.
التحيات المباركات الصلوات الطيبات لله. Is it tahiyyat, Isra?
Yes, halıklarına tahiyyatları.
Yeah.
Tezahürat-ı hayatiye denilen, tezahürat-ı hayatiye denilen halıklarına tahiyyatları.
But in Arabic, the word tahiyya is not only salutation, but that's why he said it's it already comes from the same root as life. It's through your life you are saluting. Tahiyya. Hayat, hay, tahiyya.
Somebody wrote greetings.
Yes, except that in Arabic it's a more meaningful way of saying greeting, because when you say salam is also greeting. But here in the tashahhud is tahiyyatu.
So salutation are not related to like life in Latin. Probably salute is not from life, but the tahiyya salutation is connected to life, like the same root.
Yes.
So maybe I'll read the 6th now.
Inshallah.
The 6th, to consciously observe the salutations of living beings to their creator, known as the manifestations of life, and their glorifications of their maker, known as the signs of life, and their worship of the bestower of life, known as the aims of life, and by reflecting on them to see them, and through testifying to them, to display them. Shall I continue, or are we going to pause here?
Let's do the 6th here. Again, it's the consciously observe the salutations of living beings, because living beings are, it's clearer to see the manifestations of the beautiful names. So here, the salutation of living beings to their creator, known as the manifestations of life. Their life, their being alive is a salutation to their creators. They are testifying to their creators. They are, and their glorification, their tasbihat of their maker, known as the signs of life, the ayat. They are glorifying him in the sense of here, glorifying in Arabic, again, tasbih is subhanaka. You are above any defect or anything incomplete or anything imperfect. You are, anything imperfect does not belong to you. Is not from you. Known as the sign of life. And life is, subhanAllah, if something is living, whether it's animal or plant or anything, life is always complete. There is life or there isn't. It's 1 or 0. So we can't say, like, with beauty, with other things, we think, if I don't appreciate something, I say it's ugly. And of course, I'm comparing it with something else. In itself, it's okay. But with life, it's subhanAllah, it's always like, if it is alive, it is alive, that's it. Life is something, and we cannot attribute life to anything else, because anything else is not alive. All the components of a living thing. And when death comes, when life leaves a body, the body at the moment of death, the body is whole, everything is there, yet lo and behold, there is no life. So if it's like the body has to be this way for life to be, it's not true, because at that moment, we feel that life left, is not there anymore. So life exists. That's how they salute their creator through their life and the manifestations of life and their glorification of their maker, known as the signs, the ayat of life, and their worship of the bestower of life, al-Muhyi, the giver of life. He is the living, al-Hayy, and the giver of life, al-Muhyi, the one who makes everything alive, known as the aims of life. And by reflecting on them, we consciously observe all these things and reflect on them. And through testifying to them, we display them. We display all these manifestations of life, glorifications, and worship of the bestower of life. I think it started with life because life is much more obvious. It's much more transparent, let's say. With other things, there are veils. We can easily fall into attributing our knowing, our power, our skills, our all kinds of things to all kinds of things and causes, and make them as a veil to the true source, the true bestower. But with life, the ego has to surrender unless there is resistance. Then that person is not the audience here. It's much easier to surrender life to its true owner. First in the world, and then within. When we reflect about it in the world, then we can apply it to our life as well. So our life becomes a salutation, a tahiyya, a greeting. And it's not only worship, but also the aim of life. And of course, we are told in the Quran that worship is the aim of life. But what is worship? Is this. Worship is not just I'm saying I worship. I may actually have all the motions of salat, but I'm not even present in the presence of God. I'm just doing it as something quick, I have to do the prayers. And then as if, I fulfilled a duty, it's like, check, it's done. That's not truly, there's no spirit of worship there. Worship comes with adoration. First, I have to know the object of worship. The more I know him as the one to whom all the beautiful names belong, then there will come with it that love, that adoration, that awe, that state of prostration, that gratitude, that praising. That's worship. And this is now here applied to living beings and then applied to my own life, seeing and perceiving and experiencing our own life as a salutation to the living one, the giver of life, being alive is this way, is a form of worship. It is fulfilling the aim and purpose of life. If you have anything else to say, please share. So otherwise we can go to the 7th.
So Yamina, what you're saying is that for the way I understand it, that my life is a salutation for the giver of life. So it becomes an ayah for, like, I become part of the ayahs of the universe, like, just like the life in the tree and the life in the pets and the life in all living creation. So
I mean, they are, you said a tree or something, they don't have the free will to put a veil and misappropriate the amana and claim that it's mine. So actually they are openly saluting their creator and witnessing, testifying to him being the giver of life. Only the one who is unaware will say, no, trees are life, the sun is the source of life, or something like that. But to the believer, clearly they are not distorting anything. Now in the 6th, because we went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now we came to that stage of humility, that stage of integrity, that stage of surrendering, of purifying the eye of its false claim, that now we can also be like them, but consciously.
Yeah, I guess what blocked my understanding was the vision of salutation. The army visions are very difficult for me, to relate to, but the prostration in salah is something that I can relate to, like all the creation, by its inability to claim that it's from it, is in prostration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, so the word salutation is basically prostration. If I say prostration, then I can understand it better. Then my waking up with life in me is my way of I prostrate. It's like, subhanallah, this is not from me. Like, I realize this is not from me, then I'm in prostration, then I go into prayer and prostrate. So is salutation and prostration, are they the same thing? Like, when I say prostration, it makes sense. Is that what salutation means here?
Like proclaiming that everything, in this case, all life, and of course, when we say life, everything else is attached to that life, right? Our seeing, understanding, being conscious, everything comes as a package under life. Is salutation, is at-tahiyyat. We say hayyak Allah, uhayyi, that's tahiyya.
Something like there is life in me, as if the things around are saying there is life in me. Maybe.
And saluting the creator, meaning whatever you are seeing is from him. So it's maybe more like a proclamation. The sajda is a metaphor for our state of being in order to be able to see this, to observe this, and to display it. The 5th one, the soldier example, is not that you are a soldier. It's saying just like on special days, the soldiers wear all their special uniforms and they have all the medals and all what they did in. So too, he's saying, you can, if you find another example. So this is to consciously adorn yourself in the jewel of this. It means all the senses that have been given to you, you are adorning, you are aware, conscious that they have been given to you as medals, as compared with other creatures, compared with other human beings that didn't develop their potentials. But wearing them as jewels from God is as opposed to boasting and saying, these are mine. Can you see? I am the best. That's why he says, just like.
Mm-hmm.
The medals are given to them in that sense. The senses are given to us. And if you develop a sense more through your effort, through that development, that growing is also a gift. And the fact that I chose that path, everything is put in me to choose that path. In the fitra, we have been given the inclination. In the creation, we have been given everything to pushes us, for instance, to be more just, to be more compassionate, to be more. So it is actually when I choose not to follow the path of righteousness that I am making an effort on my own, or I cannot claim that when I choose the path of righteousness, I did something. I did only one thing. I did not choose to take the wrong path. It's like saying, I did not close my eyes, therefore I am the one who is seeing. This is like the reasoning of the Namrud when he was with Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam said, he said, I give life, God, my Rabb, my sustainer gives life and death. And he says, I also give life and death. And how does he give life of death? He brings two living prisoners and orders one to be killed. And he says, you see, I deal life and I deal, yeah, you had someone killed, but you didn't give life to anyone. And so Ibrahim alayhi salam was inspired to tell him, God brings the sun from the, was it set? So brings from the east. So you bring it from the west or something like that. And he was dumbfounded. And you see, he was not even told, create a new sun. No, no, no. He's saying, why? He's saying, change the rules of the creation. Because when he killed someone, he did not deal death. He was following the rules of creation. And he was using whatever is, and he's appropriating it for himself foolishly. So he said, okay, change the rules, change the rotation of the sun then, bring it from the other side. So this is, again, here, the fifth is being aware that whatever means we are using to grow, to develop ourselves, to learn things, we are only following the already existing created rules, and therefore we are being given. We are receiving the blessings. We're not creating anything. So when I'm not closing my eyes, I cannot appropriate seeing because the eye is made to see. I'm not making it see. So that's the adornment, adorning yourself in the jewels of the subtle senses, which the manifestation of the divine names has given you. My eye is manifesting the reflection of the name seeing, seer, basir, and it is not me who makes it see. I can only stop it from seeing.
On this level, what comes to my mind is I remember for the fifth, there's something that comes to my mind, and for the sixth. So for the fifth, I remember Dr. Ali using the analogy of a diamond for just this fitra, this concept of the original being, how we're originally made, like this soul that we can't really grasp. And it's beautiful because a diamond has so many different angles and just incredible, you know, angles and depth and things like that. So to consciously adorn myself in the senses, the subtle senses and the jewels, it's like every new faculty that I become aware of that is not mine, but someone seeing through my eyes, like was in the Ramadan feast from the brother that shared. It's like all of a sudden I uncover that veil, and now it's an aspect of the diamond that shines through me because I realize I'm not the seer. And the same with hearing. Once I drill this faculty in my, you know, do the inner work and come to the state of awareness that this is not me hearing, but hearing is happening through me, then it's almost like uncovering this new angle of the diamond. And then I find myself being adorned. So it's not like putting on a jewel or putting on a necklace is like still external, something like I'm doing external. Whereas this aspect of adorning makes just, it occurs to me to be more in alignment with the words here. And then for the sixth, what came to my mind initially was like, sometimes people do not look like they're salutating. Sometimes it's very hard in the human being, in the human world, to see humans with their free will appearing, even though they're living, and I see them as living. I do not see any salutation sometimes from the way people choose to behave. So then as I continue to listen, I heard reflecting on them at the end of the paragraph says reflecting on them to see them. And what came to my mind, because when somebody's acting beautiful and with this training that we're receiving, we can see what a beautiful quality, you know, it's so I can see that salutation. What a beautiful way to channel that, like Aliyat was saying, but sometimes it's really hard to see. And what came to my mind with the last sentence, reflecting on them to see them, was through our retreat. At any one point, we can either choose to see the face of God or the face of the creation. And through choosing to see the face of God, it's like in the fact that they exist, their very existence points to that aspect or that face of God that points to either qadar, maybe, I'm not sure if that even is in alignment with this, but then I can start to see that everything is through, I guess, the face of God, or in like paragraph, not parentheses, if that points to qadar, then I can see how then everything is a salutation.
Sarah, I did not get like the ending part of it's easy. I got the part when it's easy to see people reflecting, but when they are not, you get to choose whether to use this opportunity to see the face of God or not to. So that's like Yamina's comment, when things don't happen, is to stop and pause and say there is a meaning in it not happening. When people are not reflecting things the way your soul inclines, like, you know, people are being mean, or then you're saying there's a reason, there is a wisdom in this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so like so if we choose to see the living beings as a reflection of the one that gives them life, then it reminds me of what we learned in the retreat. Like in every situation, we can either choose to see the face of the creation. So this person is making a bad choice and I'm going to focus on this choice and see this choice. Or I can choose to see the face of God, which says the creator is the one creating the situation through this living being. And then if I remember that it is the creator who creates the living being. And like you said, beautiful comment to add, that it might not be in alignment with my preference, I can still choose to reflect, like this paragraph says, and see that it's indeed the creator, the one who gives life, that's giving life to these events around me. And then it does force me to pause if I'm aware, and not react, and just pause and reflect on the meaning. I like that. Thank you for adding that.
Except that the connection is organic here. I either see the face of things and get stuck there, or I see the face of thing reflecting the creator, the beautiful names and the face of the creator. It's not the face of things or the face of God. Where did I get the face of God from? The face of things and things in themselves. And I don't care about the meaning or how they came to be this way. Or I see the face of things and I realize that their lives they are salutating here, observing. So if there is an observing, there is a consideration, there is a reflection, there is a contemplation. And they are salutating through their life is saying that, just like if my life is not from me, how can their life be from them? Through their life, they are proclaiming their creator, the source of life, known and the manifestation of life. It means their life is a manifestation of something else. And life manifests at different degrees. A plant is sitting there, but it's growing, it's alive. But a kitten, it's going around and playing, and it's another level of manifestation of life. But definitely, it's not. They are all manifesting life that is coming from beyond. So it's the organic connection of we know God through his creation. And their glorification of their maker, known as signs of life. So I see that they are signs, they are ayat, they are speaking of something else. And the more I start reading the signs and listening to the signs, the more I see that they are actually glorifying their maker. It's not going into details because this is the 11th word. Until the 11th, the other words were speaking about how to read the signs. And some people may think it's too boring because looking at one thing and reflecting on what's going on, the order, the harmony, the meaning of this, how it points to making, building, purpose, and then these qualities must have someone, an agent endowed with these qualities, and he goes step by step by step. And their worship, and then we understand that they are worshiping the bestower of life, known as the aim, and that's the aim of life. And then we start reflecting on all these meanings, and the more we reflect, the more we start displaying it in our life. But of course, this is only possible if we went through 1 to 5.
Actually, in the original, it says witness. Tefekkürle görüp şehadetle göstermektir.
But shahada is sometimes translated as testifying or witnessing. That's why.
Göstermek. But when I hear display, like I immediately think about I am displaying. But here,
göstermek.
Evet. To show.
Show. Maybe better.
Yeah.
So you don't only display.
Tefekkürle görüp şehadetle göstermek. to see via tafakkur and show through witnessing. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's okay. Thank you. So the 7th, inshallah. I was thinking we will finish, but now we stay. Shall we go?
I think there is more
next week. Then next week, inshallah. Then.
Yeah, I think because after the 8th, there's 9th, and then after that, there's another page.
Okay. Okay.
So
we leave it here. So next week, can we just start from the 7th without going back? Each time I feel like summarizing, but if you keep, if you have your notes or something, or you can go through it again. Are you putting it on YouTube, inshallah?
Yes, inshallah. This is
inshallah. So we can start directly from the 7th, inshallah.
Inshallah. And if anybody's moved to do a chart like Natila and share with us, then that would be,
mashallah,
beginning. We can go over it. The other thing that came to me, I haven't consulted with other people in the team. I did consult with Dr. Yamina, but this Sunday is Eid, and we did 4 Quran feast, Ramadan feast sessions so far. Would you be interested in doing one more, either during Eid or on Saturday, a session? It can be an hour and a half, where we hear from you guys, and I can send out a form. You can briefly, if you can share for 2-3 minutes or up to 5 minutes, one thing or 2 things that you found extremely helpful or transformative from the feast, that was shared, discussed in the feast, and you want to now, the floor is yours. You want to share that, and we will. If you
actually, Eid day is possible because people are not going to go around to the mosques and visit and think. I guess still things are not open, I think. So it could be also our coming together for Eid. Tabrik.
I think there is
and instead of sweets, physical sweets, we'll have other kinds of sweets to share.
Let me paste there's a kind of very brief form here. If you want to take part in it, you can I don't know how we can my phone is not.
Where is the form, Isra? And you also mentioned that
I want to send it, but my thing is not really cooperating. Maybe
you can send it via WhatsApp. Send it via WhatsApp.
I want to put it to chat here, but it doesn't allow me for some reason to do it for everyone. So maybe I can send it
to the WhatsApp
to you, and then you.
How about email? Those who are not on WhatsApp, email.
Or both.
Okay, but I want to put it here too. So I'm going to just, Nartila, maybe you can send it to everyone. I'm going to just send it to you. For some reason, my everyone button is not working. This is the form. You just click it and just, it's asking just a couple of things to fill in, and it will come to us. So then we'll, not on the share screen, if you can send it to people. I was able to send it to you, but not to people. To everyone in the chat. Yeah, great, thank you. So I will put this, yes, I can send it over email too, but that would require another newsletter. Okay, I will try to reach out with email too. And maybe
so next Wednesday is not
Ramadan, no.
Ramadan. So originally this study was done in physical space, and it was on Friday evening. So what are we going to do?